Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 411 of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited that you are here. And friends, I am very excited to introduce you to my guest today. My guest today is who I call my sustainability sister. She is the person more than anyone else who is the one I speak to when I am struggling with feeling like I am not making a difference, or that we are doomed, or we are helpless. And every single time she brings me back to hope. If you are someone who struggles with feeling that way sometimes, regardless of your environmental advocacy, even if you are at the very beginning of your journey, Aly is going to be that person that helps pull you back out of that. And you're going to hear her talk today about a phrase that she says to herself and that her family have always said to her that I think is going to relate to a lot of you and remind a lot of you to keep going, no matter whether you are at the beginning and for you, your environmental switch is going from a styrofoam cup to a plastic cup, or whether you're like Aly and I and you think about this all day, every day, and you work in it. So I'm excited for you to meet the Sustainability and Corporate Social Responsibility Director at New York Roadrunners. She was also in the Green Biz 30 Under 30, so she's done a lot already in the environmental field. So we're going to hear a quick word from one of our sponsors, then you will get to meet this amazing human who I know is going to inspire you as much as she inspires me. Let's meet Aly Criscuolo. Hey runners, have you seen top athletes like Eilish McColgan and Cara Goucher using the lever system lately? If not, let me fill you in on why this just might be the game changer you've been waiting for. The lever system is an innovative way to reduce your body weight while exercising on a treadmill, which means less impact on your joints. Imagine being able to push your limits without the fear of injury holding you back. Whether you're coming back from an injury, looking to increase your running volume, or wanting to add some serious speed work to your routine, lever has got you covered. What's even better, the lever system is incredibly portable. It sets up on your home treadmill or at your local gym in under 2 minutes. Yes, you heard that right. Less than 2 minutes and you are ready to go. And because we know you'll love it, we've got an exclusive deal for you. Use the discount code TINA, T-I-N-A, to get you 20% off your purchase. Trust me, your joints, Achilles, and sore muscles will thank you, and so will your future self. So check out Lever today and take your running to the next level. Also, give them a follow on Instagram at Lever, that's L-E-V-E-R, at Lever Movement, and learn more about how they are partnering with the endurance community. Happy running! Aly, my sustainability sister, welcome to the Running for Real podcast. I'm excited that you're here.
So happy to be here, Tina. I know we've been wanting to do this for a while, and I really look up to you and welcome you to the sustainability space. So yeah, really excited to be here and chat today.
Right back at you. And for listeners, Aly has been there to save me in many of my moments when I've been struggling to continue and keep going. And for those of us who are in the space, it can be a really lonely and a difficult, and sometimes feels like you are pushing a boulder up the hill and it flattens you and rolls back down more times than you're able to move it anywhere. But having those of us who get it really can make such a huge difference. And so we're going to go into some of the environmental side of things today, but I also want to start with kind of how you ended up here. And for you, it wasn't necessarily starting as a runner. from a young age. You weren't one of those kids that was like, I love to run. And then it progressed from there. You actually started in a different sport. So can you tell us, a little bit about what sport meant to you when you were a child going into a teenage and, a young adult?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up swimming and definitely identify as a swimmer. My mom was swimming with me when she was pregnant with me. I've been told I was in the pool at 2 months old. So it's just always been a part of my life. Swam growing up and then had the opportunity to swim at Fairfield University, go Stags. It's just, that's where my foundation kind of grew in sport.
Yeah. So with swimming, I don't know if I've ever actually told you this, but I wouldn't say I was a competitive swimmer as in was competing at any high level, but I definitely swam what I consider competitively from age probably like 8 to 12 or something. And I still to this day think that swimming training was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life. Like I remember going to the bathrooms just to get a rest, like being like, I was in England, I'd be like, I need to go to the toilet, just so I could get a rest because it's so hard. And so, with the swim training, like what did that teach you, as it was such an important part of your life and became more and more? What did you learn about yourself, and what are some of the skills that you learned that then eventually translated into the running world?
Yeah, I mean, so many skills that are applicable to life. I'd say most importantly, so I've actually never shared this, but my dad always says that I'm kind of a quiet leader. And so he has this phrase, NUA, which stands for never underestimate Aly. So I think just the power of like, training hard for something, believing in yourself, and the ability to see an outcome, achieve something, and gain confidence from it is huge and so applicable to life, especially working in sustainability. So, I actually have NUA on my necklace. So that's kind of a mantra that came from swimming, and I continue to carry throughout today. But I think, just the opportunity to be team captains and work with all different personalities and being part of a team. There's so many things we can learn from sport that really help us in life.
With swimming particularly, it's kind of like running, and maybe even more so in a different way, that it's an individual sport. You are swimming on your own. There's no way around that. Whereas with running, you can kind of run together, but then with swimming, you kind of swim on your own, and then you get those little chunks, which I would imagine are quite precious time when you're at the end of the pool between reps or sets or whatever. So tell us about that piece of the individual side of swimming, and how it compares and how it's different to running in that social aspect while it is individual.
Yeah, 100%. It's very individual, but such a team sport. There's still the rivalries, the teamwork, everyone coming together to achieve a common goal. During training, during practices in swimming, you do only have a few seconds at the wall, like you mentioned. So we used to play games like name games and trivia things just because you only had a couple seconds and it would keep your mind on something else. But I have really enjoyed that aspect of running, that you can chat with friends while training, something a little bit different from swimming. So I do love to run on my own and listen to Running for Real podcast and music and things like that. But then I also love, the ability to chat when you can run, which is definitely something different from the pool.
Did you struggle with that at all when you began running, kind of because you were used to having all that time solo and then suddenly people were talking to you?
Well, my journey with running is, I feel like a common one where, I had to run the mile in gym class in elementary school, absolutely dreaded it, hated it, never thought I'd ever be a runner. And then, had to run for swim training and, coach yelling at you to go faster and things like that. And once I was done with swimming and could run at my own pace and enjoy it, I really began to love it. And so that's when I started to run with friends as well and really enjoy that aspect of it actually started while we were still in college, had finished our sport, and a few of us recently retired athletes would go for jogs just to stay in shape. And really enjoyed that time.
So then running coming into the picture, you obviously had the lung capacity, which I would imagine helped a lot, or at least I feel like my swimming days allowed my running days to happen in many ways. But tell us about that transition into the running space, disconnecting the relationship you had of it being kind of something to get through, and then turning it into, as you said, something where you got to enjoy it and relax into it.
Yeah, it's definitely completely different on the body when you're not used to doing it every day. And so the way I describe it to, runners who don't necessarily swim is it's kind of like swimming feels like walking when you're doing it a lot. It's just, you can go out for a leisurely swim and feel like you're just floating. And if you're not running a lot, it feels very treacherous every step, and vice versa. If you're running a lot and then not swimming, like swimming across the pool can be very challenging. So I definitely think, there's that interesting dichotomy. But once I could kind of, like you said, run for fun and go at my own pace and really start to enjoy it, I realized it's an amazing way to just clear your head, bond with friends, come up with ideas for, your career and work, and, reduce stress. So it's been really great. And I've taken the, working towards a goal and accomplishing it from swimming into my running. I thought when I was done swimming, I would never achieve something athletically again. I was just kind of being active to stay in shape. And then I realized, oh, wow, I can try to do a 10K for the first time. Oh, I can try to do a half marathon. Oh, I can try to do my fastest 5K. And the feeling of doing those was almost, more endorphin inducing than going best times in the pool, just because they're things I never thought my body was capable of. So really cool to be able to still do that as an adult and continue that throughout life.
So before we move on from swimming, is there any... This is difficult, I guess, because I mentioned to you about before we started recording that during my recovery time, I am using swimming. I'm swimming about 2 times a week. I do have that background, so I do find that I can jump back in the pool and swim for an hour, no problem, without, having done it for at least 5 years. And I understand that the technique piece of it is critical. And as you know yourself, you can't just jump in and do it if you've never learned how to swim properly. It's just something that is going to be very difficult. But if someone is able to swim, any thoughts on, or able to swim in a way that they feel it could benefit them, but they tend to steer away from it because they're like, oh, I'll just do another run. Any additional thoughts on why it is good to kind of keep some swimming in there? For just
100%.
cross-training wise.
Yes, 100%. I mean, it's so good for the body. It's very low intensity on your joints, and great for, especially in the summer when it's hot temperatures, like cooling off the body. I know cold plunges are very in right now. And I think about just when I would always dive into the pool at 5:30 a.m. in the middle of winter, like that's our own kind of cold plunge. So, bringing your stress levels down. Even if you're just water walking, I think there's huge benefits to that. So just like we say, just get out for a run. It doesn't matter how short or quick, just jump in the pool if you have access, or the lake or the ocean, and, find time to move in water as well.
Yes. Love that. Love that. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to environmentally. I always love asking people who are in this space, because people often ask me, what little signs did you have when you were younger that this was going to be a passion area for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in the 90s when it was cool for kids to wear shirts that had Save Planet Earth on it and stuff like that. So I, had an appreciation for it at a young age, but it wasn't until 6th grade science class, Mrs. Shear's class, and you've heard the story, Tina, but we watched a documentary on climate change, and it completely terrified me, but really motivated me to want to do something about it. So ever since then, when I had the opportunity to choose what I was going to study in high school, college, I always chose environmental studies and sustainability when the opportunity arose, just because I was super passionate about it, and never thought that I could actually have a career in it someday down the road. But yeah, it seemed to have worked out.
Just to go off on a little bit of a side shoot there, for someone listening who is also maybe has a passion for an area that doesn't feel like it could be a career, what would you say? What did you do early on before you realized you could do it as a career? Never underestimate Aly is a good example of like how did you utilize that, and how could other people utilize that in something that right now maybe seems impossible for a career, but they could take the little baby steps towards?
Yeah, I always say with sustainability and really anything you're passionate about, to combine it with a hard skill. So, if you're just studying sustainability, it's going to be hard to, be hireable and have skills that are applicable to different opportunities. So, whether you are passionate about music, sustainability, dance, whatever it is, combine it with a hard skill, whether that's finance, IT, something that can really, you can enter an industry with that passion and that skill and combine the two.
I love that. And then for you, you've always struck me as someone who, even while you and I are often surrounded by people who are also passionate about sustainability, you also, again, that quiet example, ability you have to change other people without, by leading by example. That said, I sometimes even feel a little bit uncomfortable around people of being like that person who's the environmental one, who then makes them feel uncomfortable. And I'm sure you have this a lot, but I have a lot of people in my life who say, oh, I'm thinking about these things that I didn't think about before, which is great. But also I wonder if sometimes people see me as like the black cloud that's following them around, that every decision they make, they're like, oh, Tina wouldn't approve of this, or, oh, I should do better because Tina, I want to do better for Tina. But how do you overcome that yourself in terms of not, if people say that you're influencing them and helping them to change, that's great. But maybe there's some guilt there of like, I'm always the one that makes people feel like they're not being good enough.
Yeah, 100%. I sit right next to the printer at our office, and people are always nervous to print around me. And, if I'm ever near a recycling bin, whether it be in the office or at a party, people are like really nervous to recycle their waste. And I'm sure you get the same. But I think we will not get anywhere with shame. So, and it's not in my personality to shame anyone, but just in general, like in the sustainability world, we're not going to get anywhere if we shame people or make them feel bad or pressure them. Positive reinforcement is really what's going to get us there. And so, I always say, don't worry, I'm not like the fun police here. I'm just trying to guide us in the right direction. Trying to lead by example and encouraging when people do something, if they tell me, I use my reusable bag or I use my reusable water bottle, like encouraging that and being really excited for them, hyping them up. I think that's where we can get far.
Friends, I am so excited to introduce you to one of our brand new partners. And you've probably seen them around because they are growing so fast and doing such impressive things that I'm really enjoying. Runna is the #1 rated running coaching app in the world with 20,000 5-star reviews. And they're on a mission to make running as easy, effective, and enjoyable as possible. They do this through creating personalized running plans for all abilities, ranging from those starting their running journeys, those doing couch to 5K, all the way up to 2:30 marathon elite runners. All of their plans are built by Olympic athletes and expert coaches. So let me tell you a little more. They have strength and conditioning plans that are running specific and full body. That's easily in addition to your training. You can have your strength and conditioning in the same place. They have integrated mobility and Pilates plans. If those of you like me who are not typically good at that stuff, it's right there for you on the app. They have calendar syncing. And best of all, my favorite part, you can connect with like-minded runners in the community section of the app. Now, Runna has really been doing a lot within the running space to support the running community. And I've really loved watching all that they have been doing, the events that they've been showing up at. If you see a runner event near you, go to it. It is really amazing to see. Finally, as you are a friend of mine, if you use code running for real, that's running, FORREAL, running for real, you can get yourself 2 weeks for free by going to Runna, the app Runna, RUNNA, that's Runna, RUNNA in your app store, and using the code running for real. That will give you 2 free weeks. You can check it out. You can fall in love with it. And I can't wait to hear what you think. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, it's hard because I feel that you and I shouldn't have to say, yeah, I'm not the fun police. I'm not judging you. So one place I really struggle is some of my friends really love glitter. They love putting glitter on their face. And while I will not participate in putting the glitter on my face, I want them to be them and to, I'm not going to say don't put that on your face because that's not good environmentally, but it's more the anticipation. They're kind of just aware of my aura being around and aware that I care about these things. And so I'm glad you said you mention it, but it's also hard because it is tiring having to say, like, I'm not judging you. I live in the same world as you. And sometimes we need one another. Like I remember I texted you a few months ago with shoes saying like, I really need this certain shoe for my foot, but at the same time, I'm not sure about this. And you gave me that kind of permission that I needed to not feel shame about, what I was doing while my foot was in recovery. And I'm glad with the choice that I make. Any other thoughts for someone who maybe feels they are starting to be that person environmentally who is making changes in their own life, leading by example, but they can feel people are feeling uncomfortable around them. And it's not necessarily they're not shaming anyone, but they just feel that people feel they're judging them.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a sustainability advocate, I don't think you can change the aura that around you. But I will say, really encouraging people that we don't need 100, or we don't need everyone doing sustainability perfectly. We need like 80% doing it as best as they can. And so, I think if glitter is your one, vice, and you're doing everything you can and elsewhere to take public transport, carpool, be vegan, things like that, then that's where the priorities lie. And I said, like, I'm talking with friends who are having babies about reusable diapers, and if they just can't do reusable diapers, then that's okay. But in the running world, if you need to travel to certain city for a race, and that's your goal race, you've been training years for it, you're so excited about it, well, make sure you can do everything you can when you're there to make sure you're sustainable. So 80-90% is what we're striving for. Thank
you. Yes, and you and I have a similar approach in that sense of let's just get people in, rather than saying you have to hit the certain threshold to be considered. So thank you for that. So let's talk about New York Road Runners coming into the picture. What was it about the role, about this opportunity, the organization that drew you in and made you think, yeah, I like that. I like this, I guess, job opening when it came up?
Yeah, so with my swimming and then running background, and then I ended up really getting into triathlons for a while. In grad school, I had a mentor and professor who we got the opportunity to do a year-long capstone project. And she said, pie in the sky, take an entire year to do whatever you would like in the sustainability space and study it. And I said, well, I think I want to do this because I can get a job in it. And she said, take 24 hours, sleep on it, and tell me, if you could do anything in the world, truly, what would you do? And so I came back to her and I said, I would want to do swimming, running, and triathlon sustainability, but I'm never going to get a job in that. So, not practical. And she said, I really encourage you to go for it. So I ended up doing that and taking a risk. And then, a week after I graduated, this New York Roadrunners role was posted. So the industry just came along a lot quicker than I thought it would. And, it's like I was saying before, it's really awesome when you can combine a passion with a hard skill. And so to have the opportunity to not only combine, the passion for running and sports and fitness with the mission of the nonprofit, as well as, kind of the manager role and strategy was really exciting. And then I also think it was also an opportunity to kind of start something from the ground up. New York Roadrunners had a history of sustainability, and there was an opportunity to kind of, be a team of one and really work with cross-functional stakeholders across all teams, really embed sustainability across the organization and build a strategy. So that was really exciting to me.
Did that feel overwhelming at all at the beginning, knowing you said team of one, that, you had friends and people you'd met in the space, but you didn't know who your, I guess, allies, for lack of a better word, were going into that, and didn't really have anyone there's no real equivalent in the running space of the size of New York Roadrunners that you could talk to a sustainability person at that organization. So how did you work through that?
Yeah, I guess I was a bit delusional, but I was so excited for the opportunity and, really excited that New York Roadrunners was putting the resources towards this. I also will credit, I would have loved this job and this opportunity before grad school, but I would not have been able to walk in on day one and know what I was doing. So the MBA in sustainability really gave me the confidence to walk in day one and, knowing just the job description and a little bit from the interview process, like knowing what I was going to do in the first weeks, to first couple of years. So really credit that program as well.
Yeah. And so you just jump right in and focus on the work. And when I first met you was at Chicago in 2022. Yeah, must have been 2022. So you obviously at that point were starting to check in with I think you just come from Sport Positive, maybe the conference. Yeah. But at that point you were starting to, see what other races were doing, be around other races coming into Chicago. What did that feel like that you'd been working? And I don't know if you'd been to Chicago before that year, but what did that feel like when you found that there were some other, major races that were prioritizing this and you got to see the way they did things?
Yeah, it's super exciting to be able to see it in person. I started this role in 2019 and had really productive 6 months before the pandemic. And so we had been meeting 2019, 2020 around there with the Abbott World Marathon Majors Sustainability Working Group. And so I was aware of what everyone was doing. And, we were keeping each other updated, helping each other out. But the opportunity to just see it in person is just really invaluable. Even just when I started at New York Roadrunners and seeing our own events from the lens of, this is my role and this is what our goals are. So, really seeing something in person, even being able to volunteer, help out with waste diversion, really goes a long way.
Yeah, sure. So then with you recently worked really hard to get the New York Roadrunners Team for Climate what would be the word? It's not campaign, team, initiative. I guess. Yeah. Or was that activation? Is what you said?
Initiative, yeah.
Initiative, yeah. Going. And it was, a huge success. You can talk about like how quickly it sold out, how you had to shut the wait list down. So yeah, actually let's start there. Tell us, what is Team for Climate?
Yes, super excited to chat about Team for Climate. I will just say, I'm sure everyone here all of your listeners are aware of New York Roadrunners, but just for those who aren't aware, a lot of people just think of the TCS New York City Marathon. We do have 60 adult and youth events throughout the year. We are a nonprofit with the aim of building healthier lives and stronger communities through the transformative power of running. And so, as a part of our sustainability mission, this includes doing our part to ensure that future generations have access to clean air, green spaces, and a healthy world to run in. We have facilities, we have nonprofit programming, we have events, and all of this is within our environmental footprint. Just for a little background. But yes, okay, super excited to chat about New York Runners Team for Climate. We are technically the first major marathon in the industry to launch an entry method tied to sustainability efforts, where runners will have the opportunity to run and fundraise for this Team for Climate and really kind of show their commitment towards protecting our environment. And so it's a new entry method for our 3 marquee events. So the first one will be the 2024 TCS New York City Marathon, and then the United Airlines NYC Half and RBC Brooklyn Half upcoming in 2025. So for this upcoming marathon, 200 runners will have the opportunity to fundraise for carbon offsets, which is really exciting with our partner Anew Climate. And then that will help offset, New York Road Runners' carbon emissions and the emissions from the TCS New York City Marathon. And yeah, like you said, the registration opened in June, sold out in 2 minutes. People were very eager for those bibs. So super exciting. And then they will have kind of a sustainable race day experience. So, they're encouraged to come to our plogging event with you, Tina, as a special guest. And then, they'll be taking the most sustainable transportation option to the start in Staten Island, which is a Staten Island ferry. They will be hanging out in a tent that is sustainable pre-race, powered by electric generators, sustainable catering. There'll be, a lot of fun fanfare and team camaraderie in the experience. And my favorite part is what they will be wearing on race day. So stay tuned for that.
I don't even know that. So I am excited to hear more about that. Okay, so then with something like that, that sounds, when you first think about it, it sounds like it should be, okay, great. So you added a box that people can, or a link that people can sign up for. Yes, it's sold out, but I can raise a bit of money. It sounds like something that should be to the average person, an easy thing to add in. But as with everything that we maybe don't think about at first, but if we know it intimately, we know. Especially changing something environmentally, it takes a lot of time, energy, effort, and kind of stars to align to get something like that to go through. So tell us about some of the challenges of, while it might seem like even only adding a green bib option or a sustainable option, what are some of the challenges you had to work through?
Yeah, for sure. I think big organizations like New York Road Runners, sometimes people think you just snap your fingers and new thing is implemented. And just with anything, things take time, a lot of teamwork across, multiple teams across an organization. And it kind of starts from square one with, kind of proving the business case for something. So, whether that is, it will improve our sustainability, or our environmental footprint. It will, it could potentially generate revenue for our nonprofit. Whatever those kind of business factors are, driving those across to potentially senior leaders, and then getting buy-in from people across the organization. So just because there's amazing support from our senior leaders at New York Road Runners when it comes to sustainability, and then the next step is to also obtain buy-in from all the leaders and folks working on these projects across all different teams, from, finance to our events team to, even our HR teams. Everyone is involved. And then from there, putting together a budget, getting that approved for the things that we need to purchase, and then, kind of kicking off the planning process from there. So, when you have something approved by senior leaders, you still need to obtain buy-in from everyone who is implementing these things across the organization. And I think it's, same across all organizations, but usually there's people that are passionate about sustainability that will go above and beyond, but you really need to make sure it's embedded into jobs and job descriptions and, embedded across the org, because people are busy and they have a day job to complete. So, really, really making sure it's embedded across the organization. And so, with big organizations, in smaller organizations, it may be easy to implement things because, yes, they may not have the resources, staff, budget, things like that. But, someone can quickly make a decision and implement it at the next race. Pros and cons to small versus large organizations. Larger organizations, there's just more approvals that are necessary. There's, steep tradition in quality, safety, excellence. We really need to make sure that things are perfect and we're not just, testing things on a whim. So, it all kind of comes together eventually, but things may take longer than they seem. And so I always tell people at other organizations, whether they're big or small, expect things to take longer. And, we do the best we can to stick to timelines and things like that, but you may hit roadblocks that really delay things, and just don't give up and have patience.
You kind of answered that at the end here of what I was going to follow that up with is, particularly when it comes to environmental initiatives, it often takes a lot longer than we think. And part of that is every single one of us have too many things that we kind of have sitting in the back of our to-do list mind of, I need to do this, or too many emails to get back to. And there's that email sitting there waiting from sustainability. And so it can often be the thing that gets pushed aside. Mm-hmm. If someone has something environmental that they want to do locally and they're trying to get things moving, but they feel everyone keeps kind of taking their time or taking too long in getting back to them about things, or not taking things seriously. You kind of said some of it there, but anything else you'd want to share with them about just persevering through and continuing to check in, push it forward a little bit, and not taking it personally that it's not about you or the initiative, but it's just the amount of things that people have going on in their brain.
Yes, 100%. I think understanding that things, having patience and with organizations, and understanding that, like you said, they may have hundreds of emails and this is something that they can kind of push off, but also they may really want to get to it, and they may be really passionate about your idea and what you'd like to help with, but just understanding that you don't know everything that's going on inside the organization. There's a lot more to it than you can see from the outside. And, but then also, I always talk about speaking to your audience. And so figuring out what's important to them, and if it's budget, and, figure out how your initiative could help cut costs or drive revenue, like I mentioned. If it's, just the ability to do something good for the community, talk about those benefits, just really highlight, what they might be interested in, and drive that home.
Fueling my body with whole foods is important, but I have to admit mine is not perfect. That's always why I start my day with AG1. I come down the stairs, I fill up my jug with water, put in a scoop of AG1, and it ensures that I'm filling any nutritional gaps that I might be missing with the food that I'm eating. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support, and is backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you're putting in your body. I trust AG1 because, unlike so many products, the entire formula is backed by research studies, not just the ingredients. If you care about the food you put in your body, why should the supplement you put in be any different? I know my body by this point, and I know that I'm missing some points nutritionally, but I know that I also am not able to absorb everything that comes in. With AG1, I'm prioritizing my body, and I'm also giving it the gut health that I have found to be really important to feeling good. Digestion is one of the most important factors in helping your body to receive high quality nutrition. And in a recent study, they found that AG1 doubled the amount of healthy bacteria in our gut, specifically 2 of the most prominent species known to support gut and whole body health. If there is one product I trust to support my whole body health, it's AG1. And that's why I've partnered with them for 5 years. It's easy and satisfying to start your journey with AG1. Try AG1 free and get a free 1-year free supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/Tina. That's drinkag1.com/Tina. Check it out. Yeah, I think about this a lot with, a few months ago. Well, how many months ago was it? Like 4 or 5 months ago now. I posted the video about the reusable cups, and
Yes.
You and I have talked a lot about how, I love the idea of in the future, a lot more people carry their own handhelds or cups, and refill is more of a common thing. But I think it's important to just mention, based on what we were talking about there, that a lot of people might say, New York road runners, you need to do this. Chicago Marathon, you need to do this. London Marathon, you need to do this. And it sounds like, yes, okay, they should. But there's also so many logistical things that go into it. As you mentioned, the smaller organizations, the smaller races can change things, but there's a lot more dynamics that have to be considered, and changes that have to be approved, and people that have to run through every what if scenario to get something like that changed. So I brought that up just to kind of give listeners, just think about some compassion here with these bigger races, that yes, they can be leaders environmentally, but they can also they just need some grace that there's 50,000 people, or, all of your races, they often sell out, right? Most races sell out. So there's always like kind of max capacity for what the city can handle every time. And always the sheer number of events makes it difficult to ever take your foot off the gas to get these things through. Are there any other things you'd like to remind people just when they see New York road runners and might think this isn't moving fast enough?
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder. Just, coming from being a runner myself, and then going on the inside of an organization, I have both perspectives now, and have more compassion for, the sustainability leaders, or, the people working within the big corporate organizations as well, because I know, what it really takes to push an initiative through. I would say never stop, sharing your ideas and, your opinion on sustainability things that these races can do. Feel free to share, what you think is best. And then also just know that everyone inside is working as hard as they can to push these things through. And yeah, sometimes, the full picture may not be understood by the runner or the public as well. So trying to do as much research, speak with these sustainability leaders at different organizations, and understand, the nuances of things, and but never stop sharing your voice and your opinion, because that actually really helps us drive things forward. If we have the majority of runners saying they want X, Y, and Z, any of these races, that really helps us make the case for the change. So keep sharing. We really appreciate it.
I agree. Yes, that is one way we can use our voice. While your one voice of tagging, that cup video is actually a good example of tagging that. If Roadrunners gets 100 tags in that video, then Aly can go ahead and show the team, like, look, a lot of people are interested in this. Can we do something about it? So yeah, keep using your voice. We've talked about New York Road Runners being a larger organization, larger nonprofit in the space, but it's definitely small compared to some of the larger corporations that you've worked with in the past. How does that compare in terms of just looking at the nonprofit and kind of still small, and these bigger corporations and the role they have in making change happen?
Yeah, for sure. I think there are a lot of pros to working at a smaller nonprofit within sustainability. I think sustainability is it really fits with our mission as an organization. As I said, the senior leaders are really supportive of it. And as a small team, you can really, make your impact on the organization and really see the fruits of your labor, see those changes being made. Sometimes that can be more difficult at a bigger organization. I think although we're a big for a running organization, like you said, we're still small compared to major corporations, and the ability to, sit down and meet with our CEO or senior leaders and, keep them informed of how projects are going. Also to have their guidance and input is major. You may not get that at a bigger organization. And just the ability to know everyone in the organization and really be able to advocate for sustainability in all those teams and initiatives and jobs and just really embed it across the organization is probably much easier at a smaller organization.
For someone listening who does work at a bigger corporation, do you have any bits of advice on what you would say for them if it does feel like there's no way I could make change at this company?
Yeah, I think you can still make major impact no matter where you are. I think at a bigger corporation, you kind of have to build your own little community within the larger organization. So find those mentors. Find I had a manager that called them sustainability allies. So find your sustainability allies within the organization that can help move things along. Don't be afraid to dream big and, set your intentions in front of the senior leaders. But I think there's still so much opportunity there, even though, there may be silos, teams may not talk to each other as much. I think there's still an opportunity to really think big and work with those mentors and allies across the org.
Yeah, thank you. I just know that is the reality for a lot of people, as they might hear us talking or hear me talking or you and say, well, okay, that's great, good for you, but I work at a Fortune 100 company and they're not going to listen to me. But as you said, if you find a group of you start to build things up. That is how change happens. And even if it starts small, it can build from there.
I'll also add, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go for it.
You don't have to be working and you don't have to have sustainability in your job title, of course, to make an impact and to have a climate related job. It could be anyone, truly. Any role, any job can be a climate job. So, if there isn't already an environmental team at your organization, try to start one and get people involved. Any job, in your day-to-day, you can find ways to make what you do more sustainable. So, don't forget that any job can be a climate job.
So true. Love that. Thank you. That's beautifully said. So then for someone listening to this who identified with what you said earlier about never underestimate Aly, they are someone who is a little, doesn't feel like they are someone who wants to be front and center. They aren't someone who is the first to kind of boom their voice into the room. What would you say to that person environmentally if they feel it doesn't really fit me to be loud and out there and kind of making their opinion known when it comes to environmental?
That is such a great question. I think combining sustainability or environmental practices into whatever you're most comfortable with. So like you said, if you're not comfortable with speaking on panels and, being loud about it, that's okay. Find ways in your day-to-day that where you're most confident and build it into that. So let's say, you really love working in spreadsheets and, at the office and you're more of a behind the desk person, behind the scenes. Can you figure out, how you can really make procedures and processes at your company more efficient so you're producing less waste? If you're someone who, is a stay-at-home parent, can you figure out how in your day-to-day you can be more sustainable and be a role model for your kids, for others? Can you, go for more jogs and walks to places instead of driving? Bring your reusable grocery bag, all those kind of things. So whether you are a CEO or, who's like loud and on panels, or you're more kind of behind the scenes person, I think there's room for everyone to fit sustainability into their day to day.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Final question here. What is it that gives you hope when you are, well, I guess in a general day-to-day sense, and then also on the days where you are feeling a bit defeated and just wondering if what you're doing is changing anything at all? Because I would imagine most people feel both of those things at some point.
Yes, 100%. So, I just have seen the progress over the past 5 years has been really fantastic. Coming into the sport sustainability world, some people didn't even know what the word sustainability meant. And now we have over 200 signatories to the United Nations Sport for Climate Action Framework, these Green Sports Alliance memberships, and, sport sustainability roles are just growing. The initiatives that these organizations are putting forth are so exciting. So just looking back on the past 5 years really gives me hope, and the progress that has been made. All of the runners and, athletes who are talking out about sustainability and climate change is just looking at progress has been, gives me a lot of hope in this space. Mm-hmm. And then, I think like personally on a day-to-day basis when, things you can feel down and feeling like you're pushing that boulder up the hill, leaning on colleagues and friends. So I know, Tina, we always talk about this, but there's so many supportive people in this space. We welcome everyone. We want to be there for each other. There's women in green sports groups. There's group chats. There's just, if I reach out to Tina or anyone working in the space, I know I'm going to get a great pep talk and, you're doing great. Keep going. So happy to be a part of these communities and do what I can to give back to them as well.
Yeah. And I will say, I know this was your answer, but I want to add for someone listening who's not necessarily, you don't maybe identify as an environmental advocate, you still can share your fears, your struggles, your worries with people around you, because chances are they probably have some version of that themselves. So even if you don't identify yourself as a sustainability group or people that are passionate about it, sharing that like, oh, this feels like, is this a bit scary? This feels too big. Those, the fires are scaring me, whatever it is. I think talking about it to anyone, even if you don't necessarily have like you're not necessarily in a group of environmental people who are doing this for their lives, it still makes a difference.
Yeah, talking about it, leaning on friends, and then also action, getting out for a plug, join NYRR Roadrunners on one of our plugging events, doing what you can makes me feel better at least.
Yes, no, absolutely. Especially plugging. I mean, we've done many of these and it really is beautiful to see how it changes people that show up and they really are like, wow, I'm actually doing something. And that feels good to actually take action, and the reaction of other people that we go by who then are inspired themselves. So that can definitely be a powerful thing. So if anyone listening is going to be in New York the week of the marathon, we would love to see you for our plugging event then. What else would you like to remind runners listening, maybe particularly around marathon week, but just in general for their own environmental journeys?
Yeah, I'd say join us for the plugging event. I know Tina has a guide for sustainable practices during the New York City Marathon in New York City. I would also say, doing what you can to choose sustainable hotels, bringing reusables, carbon offsets for your flights, things like that. But then also NYRR Roadrunners programming wise, you can come out and cheer for NYRR Roadrunners Team for Climate, the inaugural launch of that, which will be really exciting. Cheer for all those runners. And follow, what we'll be sharing about sustainability throughout that weekend. And then yeah, just stay tuned for the next phases of New York Runners Team for Climate. Like I mentioned, there'll be opportunities to sign up for the United Airlines NYC half and the RBC Brooklyn half in 2025. So if you're interested in joining us, stay tuned on details on how to sign up and fundraise, and we'd love to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited for what is ahead. And is there any last pieces of advice you'd like to share with the listeners?
I'd say, we can get bogged down and overwhelmed with the sheer amount of things we want to achieve in sustainability, or the things that we feel like we have to accomplish in order to halt climate change. But, just looking at prioritizing and also combining it with your passions and what you're passionate about, I think is really helpful. And just reminding people that, you're not going to be perfect, but we just want you to join us and try and join New York Roadrunners in our journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I cannot thank you enough for your friendship, for your love and energy that you send my way whenever I am absolutely a hot crying mess that can barely speak, which happens sometimes. But just for also the inspiration that you provided. I know I can speak on behalf of many of your colleagues at Roadrunners, and that you have inspired so many people to see this differently and see what they can do. So thank you for all that you've done, and I can't wait to see what Roadrunners has in store for the years to come. So thanks, Aly.
Thank you so much, Sheena. And I just have to add, just thinking back to like before I met you, listening to Running for Real as a runner, and just now thinking about how much you've really used your platform to dive into the sustainability world and really make a difference, and partner with these organizations like New York Runners has just been so cool. So, thank you for all you're doing, and thank you for the opportunity to talk today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I love it. Love our friendship. Thank you. Before we go any further, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Running for Real team. Without them, I would not be able to do barely anything compared to what I'm able to do today. They are behind the scenes. They are there for me. I am just so appreciative of them. To Jeremy Nessel, our podcast editor, audio consultant, and someone who's been with me since the start. To Sally Pontarelli, our content and operations manager, who is there day to day doing all the things to help me be successful. To Kelsey Wang, our head of design, and Louise Murphy, our associate designer. And finally, to Sandy Gutierrez, our photographer and content strategist. I am appreciative of all of you and wouldn't be able to do what I do without you. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Aly as much as I did. I am such a fan of the way she views things, and I think that is the way to bring people in. So I hope you felt included. I hope you felt like you have your role, your place, or you're figuring it out, as we all are. From this episode. So you can go find what Aly is up to by checking out the links in the show notes. You can also come sign up for our blogging event. I would love to see you there in November. I'm also going to be doing an event with New York Road Runners for Climate Week. That's the week of the 23rd of September. If any of you are around then, be sure to follow Aly and I and find out what's going on that week. We'll be updating you as we go. I want to take a moment to remind you where you can go find that information. You can go to runningforreal.com/episode 411. In there, we'll have all those links we talked about, as well as links to our sponsors for today. That is Lever, Runna, and AG1. That is at runningforreal.com/episode 411. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week.